Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to Macarini Creative Design. Say a few brief words and et cetera, et cetera.
You're standing in the oldest ongoing metal arts gallery combined with a production studio for modernist design and metalwork in the United States. My father opened the production studio gallery in the fall of 1948. We are in our 75th year.
Where are the steps?
Yes, the steps are actually, see a timeline of his work here. This goes back to the 1930s. So he wasn't able to open an actual gallery studio until 1948. But he started his exploration in modernism in the 1930s. And the myth that goes around in the United States a lot is that it's called mid-century modernism. It really isn't. It really started in the 1930s with the Bauhaus in Germany, which was destroyed by the Nazis. And a lot of the Bauhaus artists came all over the world, including to the United States, and my father knew them. And he was really taken with modernist design, as opposed to following, more traditional representational work, although he was pretty good at that too. So a lot of his sketches are here that go way back. You guys can look at them. And also, we have a neo-modernist artist among us tonight with his paintings here. Wow. Daniel Fernando White. The modernist movement didn't just stop with postmodernism. What happens a lot of times is things go in cycles. And so now we are what I call into neo-modernism and the culture of neo-modernism. And so tonight, in addition to the wonderful poets and the performers we're going to have here, we have an artist that we're doing an opening with, Daniel Fernando White. I want to bring him up and let him talk about his work. Welcome, Daniel Fernando White.
My name is Daniel White. I've known Dan for a long time. I don't know how long, but
At least 20 years now.
about 20 years, yeah. And I started painting super realism and didn't have any place else to go with it. So I started doing modern work. And these paintings on the wall are recent, except for this one. That one I did in 2014. That particular one I made so that I could, it could be hung different ways. All right? Any way you want to hang it, it'll match up. Okay. And I've got on the website and on Dan's advertisement, there is 100 8x10s that couldn't fit in here in the studio, but I painted them all together as one painting. But they are displayed kind of like an explosion, but they still match up. And this is what I'm currently doing is triptychs, 100 paintings, 100 8x10s, putting paintings together. I'm making space in my studio right now where I can do 300 8x10s. And I'm needing, I think I need about 50 feet of space. Got into the worst argument with my wife yesterday. But I need to move the bookcase. No! So she finally gave in and said, okay, you can move the bookcase. And she'll be coming here hopefully soon. And the painting on the wall, the black and with the black stripe, the red and gold, I put that in the Richmond Center for the Arts, and that was about like the only one like it there because it was the Richmond Center for the Art of the African Diaspora, and mine was the only one like that And they said, who is this guy? You know, and I didn't have a website or anything. He said, we need to give you a show. And they gave me a solo show that was up from October to September. And it went over very well. It was like, it would have filled that entire wall where those two paintings are. That painting is called Melanated Beginnings. With the painting that's on the left is exploded form of the DNA of melanin. Now, in African American culture, I've heard, oh, we got melanin. And when I looked it up, it was like, wait a minute, everybody's got melanin. Black people just don't have a market on melanin. And then I looked up, I was thinking, wait, people of color. And I said, wait, what is people of color? Everybody's a color. White is a color too. So I think people of color is a misnomer. I think we need to get rid of it, period. And I'm working on a painting now called White is a Color, and the whole painting is just white.
Are you painting it white or leaving it blank?
Painting it white because when you go to Sherwin Williams or to a store to look at the colors of white paint, there's snow white, there's pearl white, there's off-white, there's cotton white.
Yeah.
It's about 60 different colors, really. And the same thing with black. So everything is, for me, is a color. I see things like, who is that artist that said this is a pipe?
Magritte?
Magritte said this is a pipe. And I look at it and say, oh, that's a hat, it may be black, but the color is black. And that gives it the shape, that gives it the outline, and gives it the meaning and everything, because every color means everything different for everybody. You know, I'm attracted to yellow and lavender, and if you're a certain sign, you might be attracted to another color, and colors just have effects on us in different ways. So my whole thing is color and modernism and geometry and taking forms and exploding them into something else, and taking paintings where it can be hung any kind of way you want, in any configuration. Like the one on that side wall with the 10 panels right there. You can hang it any way you want. You know, the one with the gold, the 3 gold panels, they can be hung any way you want. When I had them in the studio in Richmond, they were hung side by side, went out like that. But, you know, sometimes I'll get tired of something and I'll change it. And change is something that's like in our society. You'll see Macy's will go through, Tommy Hilfiger would come out with something and do a whole change. The next season, everything's torn down and there's a different design for the bookcases and displays. It's that change that keeps us buying cars, right? It's that change. And so my work, I'm thinking, I want you to be able to change it. I want you to be able to say, okay, I'm gonna put it this way for a minute. I'm gonna try it this way. And, you know, it's up to you, it's your choice. Any questions you got for me, or I'd be glad to answer anything.
Later. We can answer them later.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. It's an honor to be here. I'm glad that Dan has given me the opportunity to display my work. And one of the pieces I displayed was he put on his website, and it sold right off the website. And I'm like, whoa, this is a good place to have work. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. It's a little change of pace this evening, obviously. We're usually outside on the street, and I'm facing rows of chairs.
Change is good.
But change is good. It's a refreshing pace. It's a little different. It's acoustic, because we don't need the sound, apparently, but there are puddles outdoors and everything. So, yes, I picked a bunch of poems, some of which are mine and some of which are not mine, but for one reason or another, they all remind me of the weather as of late and thoughts about the weather. So the first two poems I'm going to read are by Rumi from his book Open Secret. And this is the first one. Answers from the Elements. A whole afternoon field inside me from one stem of reed. The messenger comes running toward me, irritated. Why be so hard to find? Last night I asked the moon about the moon. My one question for the visible world, where is God? The moon says, I am dust stirred up. When he passed by, the sun, my face is pale yellow from just now seeing him. Water, I slide on my head and face like a snake from a spell, he said. Fire, his lightning, I used to be that restless. Wind, why so light? I would burn if I had a choice. Earth, quiet and thoughtful. Inside me, I have a garden and an underground spring. The world hurts my head with its answers. Wine filling my hand, not my glass. If I could wake completely, I would say without speaking why I'm ashamed of using words.
Oh, yeah.
So another Rumi poem. The ocean moving all night. Stay with us. Don't sink to the bottom like a fish going to sleep. Be with the ocean moving steadily all night, not scattered like a rainstorm. The spring we're looking for is somewhere in the murkiness. See the night lights up there traveling together, the candle awake in its goldfish. Don't slide into the cracks of ground like spilled mercury. When the full moon comes out, look around. And it is a full moon this evening.
Yeah.
The first full month of the new year, which is called the wolf moon.
Wolf moon.
Oh.
Exactly. Everyone howl. So also, for some reason, this poem reminds me of the weather. It's a poem by my great friend Jack Hirschman. He passed away a while ago, but it's called The House of the Setting Sun, which he wrote about New Orleans after Katrina. It begins with a quote from Paolo Pasolini. Become a rag and the poorest may wave you. I put my mouth to your misery, New Orleans, inundated and soaking with death. Here lies, war lies piled so high, this floating prison of a cemetery cries out of rage at the end of its breath. Here in the last delta, desire lies on its side, is rolled and rolled over upon its own government and crushed. Summertime is over and the living is dead, and round midnight all hopes are looted. No one will come clean of the Katrina of New Orleans and the sinking house of the setting sun. Bodies so black and so blue from loving what wouldn't spit on their shoes if they needed to shine. Let alone a dime, or water. America, you were always scorched earth in our mouths, always a baptism of crap, always a rain of disaster streaming down the plains of our broken eyes. Now our rags are the most torn, our jazz the most blue, our poor the poorest. This can be worn in the soul's thrift shop. Now that all is lost and there's nothing to lose, live long the courage and the sorrow and the innocence of the poor. The real flags, it tatters, begin to wave it. And now a few pieces of my own. This is a poem called Drop, which I actually wrote about a painting of my friend Craig Goods, who passed away a while ago. But once again, kind of reminds me of the weather and of him. So it's called Drop. In wet hills, when the moss drips away, mermaids, meridians of unicorn dip into the fauve sea of black salt and pepper fog. The flat rocks drip into the ocean too, like frozen water, chipping away the waves with the resistance. The wind cries to come back, but the starfish and the kelp will not have her, and the seagulls do not know the difference. And because crab season is now beginning, the dock is creaking, all the boats are leaving soon. Crab season is here. Gulls squawk in the sky. The dock is still creaking. A seal just popped up. So next I'd like to bring up Jay Lee, who's going to play some wonderful music for us.
Alright, hope I don't screw this up. Okay, let's try this. Evolution happens every day.
serious engagements. Coming up with my escape plan. Dear Miss Mayor, at the luncheon for the housing war with business leaders that have it all and still want more. They clear out the unhoused, picking the bones of the poor.
Yeah.
This is my last number.
Is it getting evicted?
What? Not yet. exotic destinations of 5 stars, immortal nectars of the gods. In our private plane, looking down upon our domain, clinking glasses of champagne. Life for me, we're doing fine, Monopoly.
That's sweet, not C. C has been taken.
I'm sorry. Anyhow, please welcome the next performer this evening, Issa Defeat.
I don't know what you are, as if you are beyond matter, and I am lifted out of matter. Can I even see you? All my senses know is how you make me feel, and who I am, who I am, who I am when I'm with you. That's just a little ditty. Yeah? Listening to a history of 1918, I look at a bowl of peaches, pyramid of fruit huddled like family, soft herd of turned cheeks, a peach in my hand, velvet prickles to touch, plump morsel turning in the light, the twisted body a setting sun, where rosy hues degrade to gray, and sores of broken flesh expose inside out. Searching with my gliding blade cut to find its waist, ellipsed surface of slice, a murky puddle. I bear not the thought of sinking my teeth into the viscid, withered soul, which from afar seems so delightful and whole. Pluck another from the bunch, and then another, one by one spotted with death, too soon. Together they waste away, yet all were right just yesterday. I didn't see you at lunch today. It feels good missing you. Having only seen you at a glance from afar while working your face in profile, like a day in which you work from before sunrise till after sunset and never feel the golden light of day upon your flesh. Today, I didn't catch your gaze. I'm left remembering the full beam of your eyes, intently looking into mine. The blue shapes burning into mine are bright, bright. You is what this poem's called. You're so tall, yet those puppy dog eyes of yours look up at me. I can't tell if you're trying to be subtle, too pure somehow to pull off being aloof. The tilt of your head plucked a heartstring, a searching and appease. You address me by name mid-sentence to punctuate each notion. Now I know, I sip my Prosecco, that you want me to feel that you want me, leaning in and pointing to make a point, reading your poems, pointing so that the tip of your finger can touch me with a gentle push. The moment is a question mark, a period, an exclamation. Passionately explaining the impact of you in poetry, you point and read me having a Coke with you while I wash the dishes. And your face radiates a smile so close to my lips it startles me. Because to kiss you would unravel civilized society, and we want to, but we shouldn't probably. Then we discuss the meanings of different flowers and sonnets. Again, so close, sitting beside me on the sofa, you rest your sweet head on my shoulder, so precious and novel because you feel as natural as a longtime friend, as if the future were a memory. But we barely knew one another before tonight. Still, the fondness of my name, which you playfully repeat, turns my heart into a cherry pie, left to cool on the windowsill. And to the pie, your eyes are like a child's, peering at the open window, at the openings that reveal the red fruit inside, like a child peering at a hot tart. And now I'm learning old folk songs in your absence, so that we might play a duet. Every day, I hear myself wanting to sing Good For You. All I can think about is how I told you that the banjo sounded like the shimmering leaves of a tree in the wind. And then you told me that for you the banjo sounded like the woven texture of fallen rain. I keep seeing that rainfall and hearing the tickled banjo I imagine at your fingertips. I only got two more. I'm going to try and read slow. Okay. In my scarlet room, we made love for half a dozen hours. Too overwhelmed to spill seed, you wake from our wet dream in the shared bed of your primary at home. I'm alone in the kitchen breaking eggs. I smeared the yolks over the floor, half cleaning. A day passes again. Whipped eggs pour scrambled down the side of my sink. Half my breakfast empty carton out of eggs hungry. Just the other day in your arms we watched the ovum flexing of my yellow lava lamp. I think about your pause before admitting you want children. Lamp glowing marigold lighting our faces in the blue-violet bed velvet darkness. In caresses, in kisses. It's like eggs, you said, and nodding yes, my eyes held you, knowing soon you'd leave for home. Okay. This one I once had memorized, but I think I'm too nervous. Today, loving is knowing the apogee of this affair is sharing memories, nothing more. More of love's memories leading me, following along the way, a love along the way as I wait. Your face casts blonde light on petals unfurled till sunset, a morning glory for you because I am just part of the earth, not the planet yet. I feel your glow in the moonlight. Today, love is a mirrored hallway, a banquet of ecstasy, of ponderings, is a parlor of beds, pillow talking, is the folded touch of flesh, meeting one, is a twisted bedsheet, is all in knots, is a racing butterfly aimlessly fluttering, feeling and thinking and thoughtless is in the garden, is the nest, roostless, stillness, is nothingness, is everythingness, is everlastingness, never-endingly fleeting, is every moment beating hard, harder still, a visage felt in the chest. Love is this time, love is all eyes, love is, it just is. Love is lessons, love is full, empty, holy, wholeness, love is a whole, a wellspring, better than dreaming as it's happening in remembering that we might forever drink and forsake the river of time that owns us. Today, remembering you, the path is flush with the open lips of pursed flowers, kissed by the sun all day, a wish upon a star answering, in an infinite sigh between sky and earth, all the pleasures of a dithering bee. When I close my eyes, I see yours, nothing more. Thank you.
So now I am very proud to introduce an old friend of mine, Chris Chandler.
Yeah.
He's an old friend of the Beat Museum, but he also is a denizen of the Oregon Country Fair. And he has traveled around for years doing poetry and musical performances in various places in the United States. Chris Chandler!
Yeah, Chris, thank you so much. You give it up for gentlemen. Yeah, Jeff. Y'all have no idea how excited I am to be reading in North Beach. I live in Austin, Texas, right? And it's a big deal for me to come to North Beach. Well, yeah, I live there currently. I've lived in a bunch of different places. I'm kind of a road rat, and I grew up heavily inspired. I'm a high school dropout, right? And I didn't read a book till I was maybe 18. I went back to a school for dropouts, and some really smart teacher laid a copy of A Coney Island of the Mind in my hand. And I read them out in the keep in mind here, my daddy's a preacher, right? And when I read, like Christ climbed down from his bare tree this year, ran to where there were no rootless Christmas trees adorned with candy canes and breakable stars. And when I read, it was sometime during eternity, these guys show up. And one of them, who's real late, this kind of carpenter dude from this square place called Galilee. And I read that stuff, and it was all, to my parents, that had been blasphemous, right? But when I read it, it seemed both blasphemous and inspiring and amusing. Now, I'm going to put a pin in that right now, because today is the Epiphany. Yeah. Now, I think about the Epiphany. Well, I'm going to tell the story of the Epiphany for those of you who don't know. There you go. That's what I'm going to do. I was thinking, what would Lawrence Ferlinghetti do? Now, the truth of the matter is, I have absolutely no idea. I met him once very, very briefly, and I have no idea what he would actually do. But the way he took religious icons and turned them both blasphemic and inspirational just had moved me to tears. And in fact, I decided that I based my entire life on it. And I spent the last 30 years of my life traveling around the country, living in a car and reciting poetry for a living.
Yeah.
You want to call it a living. So you guys up for a story?
Yes.
I'm only going to do one for you because I gave you that long introduction here. I'm very conscious of time. This is a true story.
All right.
And so, Well, storytelling is the art of telling truth with lies. And so it came to pass that the three wise men came westward from the four corners and across the desert. And they came to behold the bright neon star illuminating the sky high above the Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Laughlin, Nevada. I am not making this up. You see, the three wise men had been locked in a self-storage bin in a suburban town east of where the king was born. And no one had visited them nearly a year, and already cobwebs were taken over. But nonetheless, once they were released, they were as fresh as the day they were born. And their first destination was to the city where the king was born. And I am talking, of course, about Tupelo, Mississippi. You see, my mother loved Christmas. And for as long as I can remember as a kid, she made new Christmas decorations. And the one that I remember the most was the three wise men. They were made of quart-sized bottles of Dr. Pepper, 7-Up, and Cheerwine. And old rags were wheat pasted around them, and she used kite strings for beards, and they were painted with Byzantine robes, and the shiny lid to a Prel shampoo bottle was used as one of the crowns on the chest containing the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh was made from the red plastic hotel piece from a Monopoly set. Now, you asked. In the time of King Herod, the Magi came to Jerusalem to ask where the king had been born. For they had seen the star rise, which foretold of his coming. And Herod called his scribes and astrologers into council, and it was concluded that he was born in Bethlehem of Judea. And the three wise men were sent by Herod with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and most importantly, instructions to return and tell Herod the exact location of this potential threat to his power. In short, the three wise men were spies. Now, my mother passed in February. And this Thanksgiving, I decided to return to my hometown of Stone Mountain, Georgia, to plant a dogwood tree in her honor. And enough time had passed for me to roll up the doors to the storage bin and return back to Oakland. A few precious memories of her: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And I decided to look through a few more boxes stacked inside the storage bin, each with more treasures, the vestiges of a life now enshrined in Ziploc baggies and neatly folded and stuffed into a Tupperware container, awaiting their fate to be decided by their heirs. Afterlife. But as I opened that red and green Tupperware bin, the profusion of childhood memories rose like the dough of my first Chef Boyardee pizza. And the memory of my mother turning that red plastic Monopoly piece into a treasure chest, and Elmer's gluing it into the hands of a Dr. Pepper bottle, transforming the mundane into holy works of art, spoke to me, and it was simple. The wise men must join me on my journey. When the wise men found the Holy Family, they did indeed present the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But more importantly, upon their arrival to Bethlehem, upon the 12th day of Christmas, today, thus launching the very first Mardi Gras season. No one from New Orleans here? Come on! The Magi had an epiphany, and much like the former slave trader John Newton writing Amazing Grace, as he turned his slave ship around and set his captive cargo free, the kings had a change of heart, and they warned the Holy Family of Herod's intent to kill this potential threat to his power. But not knowing the Holy Family had been warned, King Herod sent armed forces to kill all of the young children in Bethlehem. It is known as the massacre of the innocents that is today. However, the Holy Family had been warned, and they escaped to Memphis, Egypt. And that is how it came to pass that the three wise men made their way to Memphis in a 1996 Saturn so they could witness the giant chrome pyramid known as the Memphis Convention Center in Memphis, Tennessee. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. The Lorraine Motel is now a civil rights museum. Frankincense. Memphis blues music. Memphis blues music is now preserved on Beale Street, also known as the B.B. King Highway. We're talking Highway 61. He is from there. He is of there. He is known as the king of the blues, and his music served as an inspiration in the roots of what would become rock and roll. Murder. Elvis Presley, born in Tupelo, Mississippi, became the king of rock and roll. He came to Memphis for the music. He lived there. His house in Memphis is a museum to a generation. He had more gold records than anyone else. He has arguably been heard by more people than anyone else born in this hemisphere. Gold. These three kings of Memphis have changed the world by bridging the cultures of black and white. Elvis Presley imbibed the black roots music of B.B. King, which made it palatable for white audiences by turning it gold. While Martin Luther King used the power and the organization of the church to knock down the Jericho walls of segregation. And after warning the Holy Family, the Magi did not return to Jerusalem as instructed by Herod. Instead, they chose to live out the remainder of their days in exile. There is many stories about what happened to them after they left. One having them pass through the line of Genghis Khan. Other stories having the three wise men come to this hemisphere and study with a Hopi. But I know for a fact that the three wise men went from Memphis to Okemah, Oklahoma, to visit the home of Woody Guthrie, and up to the Four Corners and across the Hopi land. And as America passed in my rear view, news reports of our multiple wars and subsequent terrorist acts flashed with the persistent regularity of mile markers and billboards advertising this holiday season. And I think of the slaughter of the innocents. And that, my friends, is how it came to pass. That the three wise men came from the four corners across the painted desert and came to behold the bright neon star illuminating the sky high above the Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Laughlin, Nevada. And this time there was room at the end. And when crossing the desert, I recommend that you stay in a casino, not a manger. There, if you don't gamble, it's a cheap way to rest. And in this case, the luxurious hotel was only $19. And it came with a free buffet. And the hotel even gave me a $5 credit card in which to gamble. And I don't normally do that, but under the circumstances, I figured, what the hell? So I took that $5 credit card and I went out to that 1996 Saturn and I opened up the trunk and I pulled out that red and green Tupperware bin and I placed east of the wise men on a bar stool in front of a one-armed bandit. I inserted the credit card. I pulled back that handle. 3 stars rolled around in stock. And my friends, I won gold. I won frankincense. I won myrrh. I won $19. The room was paid for. I removed the credit card and put the wise men back in their Tupperware container where they continued their voyage westward into the setting sun from the land of the east across Route 66 home. I had left Oakland on October 30th. And it had been on the road for 40 days and 40 nights. As I return home tonight on the 40th night, I am grateful to all that have given comfort to the weary traveler along the way over the holiday season. Happy Epiphany to us all. Maybe there always be room at the end.
Yeah.
Jessica.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Let's hear it for all the readers once again. Look at Jay and Isa and Chris. Bravo, bravo, and for the artists.
Yeah,
And for Macmini Gallery, and for David that always does the sound. He actually did a really good job tonight.
Thank you, Jessica.
yeah.